all you gossiping ghouls and goblins. Welcome back to the Mausoleum, where we spill the tea on true crime and other miscellaneous macabre. I'm Autumn.
And I'm Haley.
And this is Don't You Know? This is a trigger warning. This is an unedited true crime podcast, and we are explicit. Many episodes contain mentions of child abuse, murder, sexual abuse, domestic violence, severe neglect, animal abuse, necrophilia, bestiality, incest, suicides, and other sensitive topics. If you're squeamish, why the fuck are you here? Now, without further ado, this is the episode of
The Cross-Country Killer. Glen Rogers.
Glen Rogers.
That's this fucktwat's name. On September 29th, in the early morning, the Los Angeles Fire Department responds to a vehicle fire. After dousing the blaze, they find human remains. They canvass the area, and the police department canvasses the area, asking a nurse who witnessed the truck fire starting. She said that she had seen about a mid-sized guy with a long hair, wasn't sure what color, and a beard running away from the truck as it went up in flames.
Specific.
Yeah. So they doused it, collected the remains. They found a backpack that had a camera and film in it with an ID that belonged to a Sarah Gallagher, who was later identified by her husband, Stephen. Of course, he was under suspicion. Oh, it's always the husband that did it.
It's always the husband.
But this time, it wasn't, because he told the cops that the last time he had seen her was the day before. They had lunch. He admitted that they were in, rocky waters, that they were sleeping separate for a few days. It wasn't like a long separation. It was really new, still trying to reconcile. He said that Sandy had called from the local bar the night before because she had bought a lottery ticket that she won $1,200 on. So she was excited.
Bitch.
And, she was waving it around the bar. Well, not waving it around the bar, but telling her friends, like, I got my $1,200.
Did it?
Yeah. Because that's pretty cool.
No,
shit.
$1,200. I could use $1,200.
And this is in 1995 money.
Yeah.
So please stop. Quit.
Sorry, our producer's just getting real pissed over here.
Rocky. I'm not happy with the sound quality.
Rocky.
Enough.
Does that only come through on our headphones? Does it come through with our recording?
No. The recordings
It's just us.
Yeah.
Okay. Whatever. I thought if we could hear it, it'd be annoying to hell, but
I don't think so. I'll have to check again, but I don't think so.
All right.
Anyway, that was the last that Stephen had heard from her. So detective...
So how long ago? Sorry, how long ago was it?
The night before she was found.
Okay.
He had called him, I won my $1,200.
Oh, that's... Okay.
And that's the last he had heard from her. So the detectives... So they went to the bar and they found out quite a bit about her final hours. Patrons recalled Sandy, or Sam as she was known, was hanging out with a guy called Glenn, who had long hair and a beard, who wasn't a local, but he took an interest in Sam. And at bar close, Glenn had asked Sandy for a ride home. She did, and that's the last that anyone had seen of her from the bar. They also said that he gave his name as Glen Rogers. Police brought him in a lineup, and he was identified as the man that was last seen with Sandy before she was killed.
Okay.
So they get a warrant. They go to his apartment, and
they were like, "Boom, it's you."
Yeah, but he was gone.
But he was gone. He was like,
"Yeah." He was packed up in a flurry. There was no money, no IDs. You could tell
he was
out.
He said, "Matter of fact, since you're here, I'ma just
deal."
Haul ass.
Yeah. Except he left one of his trophies behind. He took an earring from Sam. Or maybe it was left there when she was at his house. But they found it, and it was confirmed by Stephen that it was a pair of earrings he had bought her only a few weeks before. So the coroner positively identified Sam, I think through her dental records, and says that she was not burned to death because there was a lack of soot and ash in her nasal cavities, so she wasn't breathing while the fire was going. In fact, she had been strangled, broken hyoid bone.
So they were like,
Yeah. It was not an
For
accident.
sure.
There is no
Yeah.
way you could play it out as, oh, I ran away because the truck started on fire. I was scared. I couldn't save her.
Yeah.
Self-preservation.
No.
Whatever.
It was very evident homicide.
Yes. She had 3 children
Okay.
and her husband, and the FBI or the local police department obviously put out a bolo on him,
Mm-hmm.
started up a file.
As they do.
They run around asking anybody. He was a known job hopper and he was good at construction. He would work those jobs, so he went around hopping from construction site to construction site. And when coworkers and friends were interviewed, they said that he liked to drink. He was a charmer, but once he was drunk, when he drank, he was violent. He was also known for domestic violence. One coworker said that he hadn't seen Glenn for a few days, but that he would let the cops know if he did hear from him. And as luck would have it, Glenn did call him from Jackson, Mississippi in a motel. So he called the cops, who then connected with the manager at the motel that Glenn said he was staying at, got the room number, and once again, he was gone right before they got there. So they issue an APB.
Convenient.
Always.
Very convenient.
He seems to know the perfect time to leave.
Yeah. But he knows when his welcome's overstayed. And most of the time, they don't.
No, he's a wham bam, thank you.
He's thinking ahead.
So on November 3rd, Jackson, Mississippi detectives respond to a murder of Linda Price, who had been found by a family member, stabbed to death with her throat slashed, and left to die in her bathtub. No murder weapon was found. There was no theft and no forced entry, so this led the cops to believe that she knew her attacker. Towels were found bloody with blood streaks all over it, so they're like he tried to clean up before he left in some half-ass attempt at remorse, maybe, or trying to hide the scene.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, whatever.
What are you doing here?
No good. Just a few days later in Tampa, Florida, police are called to another motel murder scene where a young woman was found by the cleaning staff. She was stabbed in the neck and chest and left in the bathtub to bleed to death. So you'll notice that this is his MO. Cops interviewed the clerk who said that the man had checked in that night he had checked in alone, and then the next night he had brought back a lady and then left the next morning by himself with his bags packed, said that he did not want his room clean. He did not want to be disturbed. Don't let anybody in. He asked for a do not disturb sign, but the clerk was like, yeah, we don't have those. So he made one himself and stuck it on the door and paid for 2 additional nights. And that next Thursday, his stay was up, so the cleaning staff obviously go in to clean the room, and that's when they find the remains of a Jane Doe, who was later identified, I think, about 2 days by her mother, who had reported her missing.
Ew.
Yeah. She was identified as Tina Marie Cribbs, a mother of 2. She was supposed to meet friends at Showtime Bar after work. She was also supposed to meet her mom. It's kind of like where they all hang out for family dinners and chit chats. She was there with her friends at first. The bartender remembered seeing Tina and Glenn together. He said, blonde guy, beard. He bought a round of drinks for the whole bar with $100 bill, so he wasn't like trying to keep a low profile at all. Everyone that she was hanging out with said that Glenn had asked her for a ride back to his hotel that was just around the corner and that she would be back in time to meet her mom, and that was the last that they had seen of her. Her friends told the cops that Tina had a white Ford Fiesta, so they put out a bolo for that and added it to Glenn's NCIC fugitive info so that if any cops pulled over a white Ford Fiesta, they would know to see who it is.
Check an ID.
Now, because this is going across state lines and he's a slippery little fuck, they're like, we need help. So they call in the feds and they send in Agent Huber, who was surprised by Glenn's audacity and his laissez-faire attitude about being caught. Like, he wasn't hiding the victims. He wasn't cleaning the murder scenes. He was using his name. He was making a show of it. It was very catch me if you can. Like, the excitement for Glenn was the chase rather than the death, maybe.
For sure.
Or both. I don't know. News stations across the southeast states were showing his picture and urging people who had any knowledge or any, eyewitness testimony to call the local police. So that led to a lot of tips, which obviously led to nowhere. There were a few.
Hold on. Your producers are licking my legs now. Hey, doggos. Come on. Both of you.
Go.
I don't need to be harassed by a dog licking my toes. That's not enjoyable.
That's an urban legend.
It's not enjoyable.
All right, so where are we at? Oh, a lot of tips that led to dead ends. Even a few cases of people who kind of looked like Glenn being
Glenn.
not being Glenn, but having, their motel rooms and their houses.
Shit.
SWAT coming at him like, "Oh, we think you're
you look like this other white dude I know." Hey.
Hey. Like, kill nobody, man.
My name's not Glenn, it's Peter.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, due diligence, right?
I guess.
Fast forward to November 10th. And like he has like no cool down period.
He's ready to go.
His cool down period is literally just the drive to the next victim.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah.
He's leading them on a goose chase and he's leaving them prizes along the way. And they are very sad prizes.
Right. When I watched the documentaries, like they were grim. Like the FBI Files episode, it was grim. But it I don't know, I feel like it downplayed just how erratic and chaotic, because it was only a 6-week span. When you think about serial killers, right, the longevity of their sprees are usually sometimes decades.
Yeah, they sometimes have cooling off periods and sometimes don't. He's definitely I feel like there's another word for,
he's not necessarily a spree killer, because I think that's defined as like multiple victims over a short period of time.
Is that not what you're describing?
I don't know. I thought that too when I was reading and watching everything. And then I went and looked it up and I'm like, no. So there is like a notable difference between serial killer and spree killer.
Yeah, and that's my knowledge is the definition of spree killer.
Research on the pod.
Research on the pod. Research on the pod. Research on the pod. Research on the
Destruction
pod.
of the mausoleum.
We can't wait to see what the research will be. Because it's research on the pod. Research on the pod. Research.
Okay, so the difference is spree killers
Read it into the microphone.
Spree killers. From a quick internet search, if serial killers are defined by control, spree killers embody chaos. Their rampages are impulsive, emotional, and fast. There's no cooling off period. Instead, the violence unfolds over days or sometimes hours, often across multiple locations.
Is that not what the hell we're describing in this very, very case that you were currently telling me? That he is not cooling off, he's jumping, he's leaving traces behind, so he's being messy. One could mean fast, or one could say fast, with not a very long cooling off period, spread across multiple days.
Oh, they call him a serial killer.
I think because you can be a serial killer, but you also can be a spree killer too.
I think it's because
also,
of the victim count. Yeah, that's him after like some years in prison. Hold on, let me go. Yeah, this is
Whoa.
This is him during
the time.
The murders. Like this is a picture of him getting. He's not ugly.
What?
He's not my type. What? I don't know. I like
Wait, so we're saying, what is this? Is this like an actor right here?
No, this is Glen Rogers.
That's him.
Yeah.
So click on that picture.
This one?
Why is he next to Trump?
Because at the end of it, Jesus.
Okay. I could see how ones could be attracted. He's very like surfer dude-esque type looking
He was very
Australian.
charming. They also call him the Casanova killer, but I hate using the fucking.
But he looks very rad. He has like a mustache. He looks very of the
He's
times.
symmetrical for the 90s.
I could see
He's like
how
Walmart Brad Pitt.
I could see how Mark Red, yeah, like surfer. No,
Dollar Tree
I'm
Brad
thinking
Pitt.
like he's going surfing on a lake.
Whatever.
Like he's like, I'm gonna catch waves, and you're like, dude, it's a lake.
It's the lake. Just have a seat, guy. No, but apparently he was really charming. So,
all right, sure, we'll go with it.
I also would have considered him a spree killer because it was.
No, I would definitely.
But I think it's his victim count because it's technically multiple, but they're isolated. So each murder is its own murder versus a spree killer shooting up a gas station.
Or like it's different each time.
Yeah,
like he evolves differently.
It's the chaos, and his MO outside of Sandra Gallagher being burned in the truck. The subsequent 3 victims were all stabbed and left in. Linda and Tina were left in their bathtubs, and then the next one, we'll jump right into it.
All right.
Back from the research.
You should go to the screen just to make sure we're recording, because that would be the fucking
bullshit of it. Okay, there we go. We are recording. Okay, so feds are involved. We left at people getting harassed because they kind of looked like him. All right, so on November 10th, FBI learned that Louisiana was Glen's next stop when Andy Sutton, mother of 4, was found dead in her Bossier City apartment, multiple stab wounds to her upper chest and back. They questioned her ex-boyfriend and her roommate. Her roommate was out the night before, working late. When she came home in the early hours of the morning, they left blankets on the couch for her because there was only one bedroom. So if they didn't have men over, they would share the bed. So she slept on the couch, nothing notable. And then the next morning, Andy's ex-boyfriend comes over banging on the door demanding to talk to Andy, and she's like, dude, she had a friend over last night, she's not trying to fuck with you. Yeah. He's like, no, I want to talk to her, she's sleeping, no, I want to talk to her. So her roommate goes and knocks on the door, doesn't get an answer, and unfortunately finds the remains of her best friend and roommate Andy. So the detectives come over. Her roommate tells the detectives that Andy met Glen in a bar, of course, and that they'd only been dating for a few days. Neighbors had seen him leave in the Festiva, so he's still driving Tina's car. So the Louisiana police, of course, Glen's still using his name, so they look it up, and there's a whole bunch of information. He's on the FBI's most wanted list. Yeah, he's wanted. So they're like, hey, can we get some more info on that? Because we think we got your guy.
Yeah.
So his mug is all over the national news. Well, not the national news, but he's getting up there. He makes it to the FBI's 10 most wanted. And even with all of this effort with the feds and police departments working together and sharing information, he still slips through the fucking cracks. He murdered 4 women in 6 weeks. We just debated that. Yeah.
Different locations.
Yep. He was always on the move. He was always a step ahead. So they expanded their net, even working with truckers to keep an eye out. So they're on the CBs and they're like, hey, everybody, if you see a white Ford Fiesta,
this car, let us know. Call us, let us know, please. You're out there.
Yeah, they're going to all the rest stops. They're doing press conferences, warning people to not go home with a blonde bearded man named Glen Rogers because he will absolutely murder you, especially, and here's the kicker, if you have red hair. Because all of his victims had different shades. If you
didn't know, Haley is a redhead, and I am a strawberry blonde, and some argue tooth and nail, also a redhead. So, fuck.
Yeah,
although I don't get home. You push get in the car with you.
They'd be like, hey, can I get a ride home? And I'd be like, fuck off.
I'd be like, stranger danger.
You fucking ride my dick.
I would get very weird very fast, then get very scared and run very fast. You wouldn't even think I would be able to run that fast, and then you're like, whoa, that's a fat girl running real fast. Whoa, I'll be out that.
He would just be tasting my steel toe. All right, so
I get weird way too fast. I'd be like, whoa, someone's having a breakdown over there.
Yes. So they're sending out all these warnings. They put him on the FBI's 10 most wanted. so that they can get more resources, more media attention. You know, tips came in by the pound, but essentially really led to nowhere. So agents are studying his behavior because they want to predict where he's going to end up. And Kentucky was the consensus. So they focused their efforts there. And it turns out Kentucky sheriff was already looking for Glen Rogers.
Because he already strike, bitch.
2 years prior.
Exactly.
He was wanted under suspicion for the disappearance of his old roommate, 71 or 73. I didn't write it down. Mark Peters, who had been missing for 2 years, presumed dead. Glenn was the last one to see him. He's wanted by the Kentucky sheriff. He's actually in Kentucky. This is all off the top of my head because I ain't organized. And his brother is actually the one that turns him in.
Okay.
Because he goes seeking shelter and he's talking to his siblings and he's fucking bragging. He's like, yeah, I killed 70 to 80 bitches out there. And
I like to brag about that too.
Yeah.
I'm on the FBI's most wanted list. Look at my locks. Look at my beard.
But that's what he wanted. He wanted attention. Like his, oh my God, we'll get into it. But I do believe it's one of his brothers that end up turning him in to the police. And, he had to struggle with the decision because he's like, oh, this is my baby brother. Okay. Anyway, I was mistaken. If I don't end up editing that out, he was not turned in by his brother. But they were working with the Kentucky sheriffs.
I've petitioned to start calling them Catownies.
Townies?
Because that was a really good mashup.
Good townies, like it. He's known to be driving the white Ford Fiesta. He's got a bolo out, and an officer sees him on the highway, runs the plate, and the plate was also reported stolen. Like, it doesn't belong to the car, but the plate was reported stolen. So he calls it in. He's like, I'm pretty sure I got the guy. And they do like this slow speed chase for a few miles.
Okay.
And then citizens and officers and all of that finally get him to pull over, and they apprehend him. And the news is all there, and they got cameras in his face, and he's getting arrested. And they're asking him, like, did you do it? Did you kill those women? Like, all this other shit. And he's like, you talk to me one-on-one, like this other shit.
God.
And just being fucking
stupid.
Oh
my God.
I will try to see if I can find a clip to insert. Yeah.
The drama is significant.
He just wanted the drama. So then I went and watched the documentary that was heavily focused on his, like, childhood and from his siblings' perspective. Of course, he's kind of got the standard serial killer. He was the youngest or second youngest. Watched his mom get beat by his dad. All that shit.
Yeah. Not good. Obviously.
Yeah. Not really going to go too far into it because
standardized serial killer stuff that
his
you
brother,
say time and time again.
Yeah, he said he was molested. He had that thing. Watched his mom take the beatings. All of the kids started life of crime pretty early because there wasn't any food in the house, so they would
steal,
go elsewhere.
Bada bing, bada boom. Yeah, he could have had a more creative upbringing. It would have given us a little more to talk about.
Right. Well, I mean, but his brother got him into the crime. Like, they went to the stealing, and that's when Glenn was always like the trigger happy one. He was always like, we could just kill him and not leave any witnesses. And his brother was like, no. One of his other brothers was, it could have been me. It could have been any one of us. Like, absent from school a lot. By 13, he had a rap sheet for burglary, theft, destruction of property, and fighting. His mother did try to get him help, but he wasn't open to it. So during the trial, he didn't show much remorse. Florida is the one that took the first.
So who are they trying who are they trying him on?
Florida was Tina Marie Cribbs.
Okay.
And they, I think, had the most evidence on her, so they tried him. He got the death penalty there. And then he got the death penalty in California as well. I think. Fuck, I don't remember. But yeah, they just went with who had the most evidence, the most slam dunk jury. So he was sentenced to death and executed finally on May 15th, 2025. And he had,
recently. Okay, you were mentioning that it was recent. Yep. Okay, and how did he die? Was it injection?
Yeah, it was lethal injection. Yes. He tried to appeal his death sentence at one point, saying that he had the blood disease that made him do it. And, like, he did have a blood disease, but obviously that's no good excuse. My childhood, my blood disease.
everything in the books to try to,
Yep.
change your sentence.
He also notably tried to take responsibility for Nicole Brown Smith's murder, O.J. Simpson's
Oh, okay.
Ex-wife, late wife.
Okay.
Yeah. Part of the documentary with the siblings, when he was out partying across the Southeast and whatnot, he said that he had gone to a bar where he met OJ's affiliates who were like talking about burglarizing OJ's house for jewelry and money and all of that. And if it just so happened that his wife got in the way, to not hesitate. And so that he got paid for that job that he was very proud to take. But that theory has been debunked by the feds.
Okay.
So that was just a whole bunch of hoopla. What other notable things? Not much. Yeah.
That's crazy. Recent too, in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So what do they do with them after they inject them? Do they like have a set burial site for those?
If the family doesn't claim them, they usually get like a pauper's grave or cremation or something. I don't know what they did with his remains because, like, I don't really care
Okay.
too much.
I just want to know.
Yeah.
Throw it in the dumpster?
Probably not.
Could have.
Like I said, if anything, it could just be unclaimed cremains or a pauper's grave. But
Unclaimed cremains.
that's my new metal band name.
Cremains.
Unclaimed cremains. All right, that's all, yo. It was an impromptu episode. Bye.
And that, my pretties, is all we have for you today. If you liked that episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Word of mouth is the best advertising, and we truly appreciate the solid. If you'd like to view our resources or leave us any comments on our research and write-ups, visit don'tyouknowpod.com and visit our socials. From Facebook to Mastodon, everything is at Don't You Know Pod. Links in the show notes. Thanks for joining us, and don't forget to lock your doors.